Greetings, YouTubes, and welcome to another episode of This Old Boiler. So what you see there is your typical McDonald Miller number 67 hookup on the sight glass tappings. We've got our usual sight glass blowdown on there. Here's an old McDonald Miller number 67, still in service. And I wanted to show you one of the things that we like to do in order to improve maintenance on this. So rather than have the pigtail come out of this 1/4 inch tapping here, we usually have a straight brass nipple coming out, and we plug this. We put our pigtail here, the pressure troll here, naturally set to the lowest possible setting possible. The useless 30-pound pressure gauge on there, and this setup, we believe, allows for a good servicing, in that a lot of times the float in here gets hung up with crusty rust, particularly during the summer when this sits idle, and will prevent the float from working properly. So by removing this plug and using the protection rod from the sight glass to drop down inside, we can tickle the float without too much trouble, without draining the system down and playing with it, and get it freed up from the chunks that are encasing it in this unit. What happened to the focus there? There we go. So there's your typical setup. This is your 1/2 inch outside diameter top fitting, and this is your typical blowdown. Usually you want to have some kind of drip rod. And I think you can hear the burners running. And when I lift this lever, two things are going to happen. You should hear the click of the feeder feed, and the burner should then come off. Okay, that clunk, and then the burner's going off. The feeder is still feeding, and the burners come on and the feeder's going off. That feeder, by the way, is my least favorite feeder in the entire world, the 101 24 volt. 101A 24 volt. There's no manual bypass, and there's no focus either. And this is the manual fill valve. So that thing is probably pretty rusted up. Let's see if we can get a shot of the... You can see the sight glass, the bobbing up and down, the gentle bobbing up and down of the sight glass as the boiler is firing. And we're just adding water, make up water. And it's really slow. Sure do miss that manual bypass. Other feature, so this is the schematic and ladder diagram of the components, and you'll see, I call your attention to that word right there, millivolt. So this is a millivolt system, in that the main safety controls are operating via the power of the power pile that's in there, rather than just a thermocouple. A thermocouple, if you combine a whole bunch of thermocouples together, create a power pile, and you can generate as much as half a volt. And that's just barely enough to go through the thermostat, the pressure troll, and the low water cutoff. Now, if you want to run a automatic feeder with the 67 and on a millivolt system, you can do so because the switch is separate. There's two switches in one. So there's the transformer, the 24 volt transformer, the 120 to a 20 volt transformer. As you can see, it's probably like a 50 to 70 VA on there, VA volt amps. And the switch is marked feeder only, which means if you turn that switch off, it does not turn off the burner. I'll demonstrate. Burner is still firing. But if I blow this down, the burner should shut off and the feeder will not go down. So I'm going to open this up and hear the burner go off, but that button doesn't get pulled down. You heard the burner go on. There's the feeder being turned back on. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up this valve, and while I do that, I'm going to focus on that red button there. 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 So that's where we are. I thank you very much. I hope this was of interest, and hope maybe that there were a few useful tips to pick up on this. And as always, I thank you for your comments and your support and your questions. Be well and stay safe.